So Satan also is in the form of the other nation types. The first video was on how Satan was part of God's kingdom. This next part is the adversarial nature of Satan, which you'll read in the prophets regarding the other nations like Edom and Tyre and Zidon and Assyria and Babylon and Moab and Egypt. You'll see in these nation types the documentation of Satan's struggle against God. You see Satan's personality in those prophecies, where in the stories of Judah and Israel and Ephraim, you see the personalities of God's elect, how they go through trouble and how they have to endure hardship to attain the prize, which is mercy, wisdom, and peace, and truth and righteousness. They have to attain the prize. And we struggle under the captivity, we struggle under warfare from these demonic principalities that surround us. And of course, Babylon is the big bad guy. That's the one who wipes out all the principalities and takes them all under his control, including Israel and Judah and Ephraim. And this is the beast, is Lucifer. Lucifer is in Isaiah chapter 14 as the king, and he wants to raise his throne to the place of God. So that gives you a point of what Lucifer is like. And also in Ezekiel 28, you see the king of Tyre, which is the covering cherub. This is another Satan, for there's multiple principalities, but they all work in one concord to basically enact Satan's kingdom. So yes, Satan is under God's rule. He is a correction to us. He is a chastiser of us, but he is also a destruction of our enemies. But when we read the chapters of the prophets with the other nation types, we see the personalities of Satan in these types, like the Nile dragon or the king of Moab, who is very materialistic. We see what these demons work on, and you can see in these demonic principalities what is the particular vice of that particular principality. So in Tyre, it's specifically commerce and it's power, and Prince of Tyre thinks he's God. Of course, he's not Lucifer, who wants to raise his throne above God. He's not deluded in that sense, but Prince of Tyre thinks he's actually God, which is one way you can identify a Prince of Tyre, is if they think they're God. The king of Tyre is a perfect person at his beginning, but then he falls away due to sin. He loses his innocence. Zidon is an adversary of the church. Egypt is the dragon. It's the great Nile dragon. Edom is death. Edom is the one who when Israel and Judah and Ephraim were going into captivity, Edom came and made it worse for them, essentially. Which is one of the things that you have to understand about Edom, is that he made it a lot worse for Judah, Ephraim, and Israel, which he was not supposed to do. And this is one of the reasons why Edom has such a strict judgment. So you read these prophecy types, you see Satan's personality, the various demonic principalities that rule over these things, until Babylon comes and wipes them all out, which you have to understand, is Babylon actually an adversary of Assyria or Tyre? So we know with Alexander the Great, this was a type of Babylon coming and destroying the kingdom of Tyre and also relieving Israel of its captivity, which is a strange thing to think, that sometimes, and this is what I'm saying, is sometimes Satan works for the good of Christians, which is why we should not be thinking of Satan as necessarily an enemy. He's higher than we are. There's no man that has higher authority than Satan. He's too high. We can't challenge him, but we can submit ourselves to God, who has higher authority than Satan. And God can rebuke Satan on our behalf, just like Michael told God to rebuke Satan over the body of Moses, or, among those other things. So that's one of the things that you have to understand, is that Satan is a lot higher than we are. He's a cherubim. Cherubim have a share of God's omnipotence. They have a share of his all-powerful. Just like seraphim, they say, have a share of his omniscience. And this is dangerous, because if we become an adversary, we go out and fight Satan. We're not fighting the battle in us. And we have to understand, Satan can destroy us. This is why we're not to revile angelic majesties, just like Jude said. We're not to revile them, because they have authority that we don't, and actually they will act on our behalf to, in a sense, wipe away God's enemies. And so that's what the fact is. Even the forces of darkness, all things work together for the good of the elect. And this is what we need to understand when we read the Bible. We need to place ourselves in Israel, Ephraim, and Judah's shoes, or Joseph's, not in the prophetic types of the nations. We have to look at those as a rebuke against our own sin. Is our commerce more important than God? Is our materialism more important than God? Is our power more important than God? Are we an adversary against God and his people? Are we a conqueror? Do we want to conquer the world? Do we want to take over the world? Do we want to be in charge of the world? And the world can change. It's just they can change everything on a drop of a dime. You can know something to the bottom core of your being and it can get changed in a matter of one conversation, which is what you must understand. We need to get rid of this world. We need to forfeit this world. And we need to expect God and his kingdom. This world is not ours. We are not, so to speak, to lay foundations with the princes of this world's wisdom. Though we can borrow from it. Like, for instance, sometimes I borrow from the Greek, sometimes I borrow from history. But the fact of the matter is that we have to understand that God is orderer and provider and protector, not us. We have to understand that God is the creator. God is in authority over all beings in dominion. He has power over our hearts to turn it to evil or to turn it to good. And what we can do, we cannot sway against it. God has all power. And that's what you have to understand, is that we have choice for sure. But God knows our choice. He predestined us according to his own foreknowledge. He knows our choices, right down to the very minute thing we do. And because he knows our choices, he's given us grace according to his will and his perfect intention. And we will be protected on this walk. And no sin we've committed will separate us from God. He knows our walk perfectly. But the fact of the matter is that God is protector, God is shelter. And if you suffer for the kingdom, which you possibly will, remember, if you suffer, you must stay strong to God. Just yesterday, I saw the girl of my dreams, or at least she looked like her, with the guy who looks like someone that I just looked like someone that I didn't really like. Someone that did some very bad things to me. That's what he looked like. I'm not saying this was these two people. And I was very upset. But Satan did those things to prune off the branches, the dead branches. So I was listening to my brother's charity concert, and I might have failed the test, of course, because I was just very sad, as I'm allowed to. But my brother and I had a very beautiful conversation, and it was like all my hopes were there, dashed in front of me. And Satan will do that. Satan will embarrass you. Satan has power that you can't fathom, but you have to stick to God, because God is protector. God is orderer. God is provider. He can give me a girl just like her, who's even more beautiful. God can do that. God can take my ugly, run-down body and heal it tonight. God can heal a cavity. God can heal a heart. God can heal a mental illness. God can heal an amputation. So understand, and this is one of my favorite stories, is Mary Magdalene. When she's in ministry, she ministered to a Roman and told him that if he believes, his wife is going to conceive a child. And his wife did conceive a child, and they went on a long journey, and he lost his wife and child to a shipwreck. And rather than abandon the faith, this man stuck strong. And you know what God did through Mary Magdalene's prayers was God raised this woman and her child from the dead, because this man kept his faith, which is a perfect picture of what we are needing to do, is to keep our faith despite being rebuked and sharply beaten by Satan's scourges. Because again, as I'm saying, Satan's dominion is an adversary against God. It's also under God's dominion. Satan is there to prune off our dead branches. He's there to destroy the wicked and make the righteous more righteous. And God can essentially undo all the sin you've ever done. He can make you forget about everything. He can make you raise. He can lower you. God is supreme. He is our orderer and our provider. So let your soul be still and do not worry about Satan. Rather fear God.